How's it going, everybody? It is a beautiful, beautiful night here in Seoul, South Korea. So I've got Luke Rudkowski right here, and Luke has also been called alt-right for whatever reason. And I kind of want to have a discussion about what it actually means to be right and left, and then talk with Luke about his personal perspective on this. So the first thing I want to say, for those that are not familiar, on the political compass, the left is more about government, the right is more about free market. The top is authoritarian, the bottom is libertarian, and I fall in the libertarian left. Not too far, I'm kind of like center-left libertarian. That means I don't believe in the great authority system. I don't think the authority should be controlling people, but I also think that when it comes to the economy, there should be a light, mutually agreed upon, some kind of like regulation. It's complicated.
Now, when you talk about me, let's say this is a political spectrum right here in this little box, and this is me right here. Just continually flipping around. I don't know what I am. Mostly, I'm anti-establishment. Of course, I always have been mislabeled by the mainstream media, but I think that has a lot to do with me being, making my life existence, seeing the mainstream media as the enemy of humanity. And I think recently it's kind of shifted from just being obnoxious by the mainstream media, from other people just labeling you this new kind of hot word button term, whatever, alt-right or super right or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Right.
But I don't know what the hell I am myself, but we're gonna find out about that. Sorry, I just
we'll do that.
We'll do that later. We'll pitch that later in the video. But it's important to understand here. I always keep in mind on so many different things. As a journalist, I never define myself as either political dichotomies on the left or right. It's always top down for me. It's always looking at the people, looking at the establishment, looking at the people who are in power and trying to hold them accountable. That's always been my main mission. I have grinded my teeth against the system. Me and Tim had guns put to our heads by the CPD and Homeland Security. I've been banned from countries. We stayed at Occupy Wall Street from the very beginning till the very end, busting our butts, getting on the ground reporting of sometimes police brutality, and we have exonerated, me and Tim both, human beings who were incorrectly arrested by the police in New York City. Our video footage was used in court cases to set people free after the police illegally arrested them and entrapped them and gave them false charges that were not true, and our video footage of those events set them free. I have been harassed. I have been intimidated. I have gotten death threats.
Spray with piss.
I have been freaking assaulted, beat up, thrown in jail so many different times for doing nothing wrong except exposing the establishment. My reputation has been slandered on the mainstream media, but now the attacks are coming from different points of view, and as you were saying,
here's the big question, right? Based off everything you said, you want to hold those in power accountable.
Yep.
This is actually really interesting. It's really interesting. Who's in power right now?
Donald Trump.
Right. So a lot of people...
Supposedly, but it's even bigger than that because that's an oversimplified version, but it gets more complicated when you look at the deep state and also some of the policies that have continued under George W. Bush, under Barack Obama, and now also under Donald Trump, which shows you that there's a bigger overlaying problem, which Putin even talked about, the guys in suits who come in there and set the policy, and it doesn't matter who's president. So there's also that angle of it. Too. But representatively, yes, it is Donald Trump, but it's actually bigger than that.
But it's not that. People believe culturally, like when you actually look at our system, the left is in power. The media is liberal. The journalists are liberal, right? And then I shouldn't even say liberal. They're like far left progressives. And so now what we're seeing is like, people like Paul Joseph Watson. He says he's a contrarian polemicist. Milo says the same thing. And a lot of people accuse them of simply being the counterculture, that their opinions aren't actually conservative, they're not actually right-wing. They're just challenging the fact that they feel those in power are the liberals, not even Donald Trump, right? So I feel like now we're seeing, you see someone like Dave Rubin, who he interviews conservatives, and he talks to them, and he doesn't immediately just scream that they're Nazis or any crazy thing like that. Therefore, he must be right-wing, right? So is this journalist from Mother Jones saying that Dave Rubin was far right, and then started retweeting things that Dave had said in the past, which were kind of just libertarian stances, liberal or libertarian. So I guess what we're seeing is, I'll use another example. I spoke with, there's this activist from Occupy Wall Street who told me that they were a moderate. Like, this is a person who could not be further left. Believing that Antifa has a right to smash people, like bash them over the head and things like that. Flat out telling me straight up, Antifa should be able to bash people. And they're like, well, I'm moderate, I'm in the middle. and then everyone else is, you're all the far right, and I'm like, I'm actually like left leaning, So these guys, right? We've all been attacked by Antifa for years. There was that one moment where the guy he smacked my phone out of my hand, and then I grabbed him. You pulled his mask off back in 2012, but just recently you got sprayed with piss in New York by Antifa.
Yeah, which just kind of boggles my mind. Because some of the counter-protesters there were coming up to me like, man, I appreciate your work. And then I went to the regular protest, and then they were like, yeah, man, I appreciate your work. And that's my job. I think the whole labeling of people is just the mass generalization and dumbassification of humanity and society to make these complex issues a lot simpler than they actually are. And now we have, oh, you hung out with this person? We're going to try to hurt you, which is just asinine, which is dumb. I'm also hearing from some people that it was accidental, that I was intended for another young reporter that was next to me. But the very fact is, I still had to go through someone trying to sucker punch me, blowing air horns in my ear.
Hold on, I don't care who the piss is for.
Yeah,
don't splash piss on people.
Yeah. I mean, people act like animals now, and I think it's really dumb to even have these labels. I think it's more important for people to have an open mind, have a dialogue with human beings, to be able to figure out, wait, maybe I could learn something from you. And I hang out with people from the far left, and I hang out with people from the far right, and I respect both of them. I respect their viewpoints, but I could only understand them and respect them and see why they believe that certain path after you spend time with those human beings and don't see them as an enemy point blank. And that's what I've been doing for a number of years now. So it's very interesting to see becoming the target of these latest attacks, and it's like, well, you're giving me no other options. And if someone who wasn't in control of their emotions, if someone like myself would have got pissed on at them or got punched or had air horns in their ear trying to make you deaf, if that happened to somebody else who wasn't emotionally stable, automatically they would go to the right. Automatically it would make them their chief enemy. Automatically they would become reactionary and emotional. No, I'm not going to play into your games. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to push people away and trying to be vindicated and trying to set up this victimization culture, which is all bullcrap. I don't believe in it. I'm not a freaking victim. Whatever happened. I'll still be there the next day, and no one's going to stop me, and I'll still call it like I see it. Because it's important to do that.
I don't think these people are trying to make you go to the right, but Lacey Green tweeted about this. She said... She said something along the lines of, like, I don't think people realize that when you call centrists Nazis or white supremacists, you empower those groups. You empower groups like the KKK. And then I added to that, but you also push those people to the right. I think Bill Maher said something about this. I can't remember who, but they said the independent, the moderate in this past election cycle are going to vote Republican because they're being freaked out by this violence, by black bloc tactics. When the average person sees someone put on a black mask and go start bashing people's heads in, they immediately say, like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And so these kinds of far left authoritarian tactics, right? They push people to the other side. That's what basically you were saying. But here's the crazy thing. In 2011, I literally slept at Occupy Wall Street. I slept there, ate food there, I hung out with people there, really got to know a lot of people, and I was applauded, and I was given an award. I was given accolades. I was featured in magazines. People were like, God damn it, Tim, that was some of the best journalism we've seen in a long time. These journalists, they don't even go down there and talk to people anymore. They don't meet people. They don't really try to understand. They take a picture, they stand in front of it, and then no one knows what happened. They just assume they know what happened. Now it happens this past month. I literally went to get a barbecue. I had some chicken wings with a group of Trump supporters, and there's a picture of me. I'm in the picture. I'm not like, posing or anything, but they're like, haha, Tim's trying to hide. I'm like, what are you talking about? I could have just moved. But now they're saying because I simply had dinner with people who are conservative, I am alt-right. My view on policy is like center-left.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I had chicken wings with a guy with a Trump hat on. Therefore, I'm a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Same thing for you. I mean, you don't even fit the political spectrum. That's why I thought it would be interesting to talk to you about this, because you're like a crystal-wearing hippie libertarian.
I don't know what I am. I have an open mind. And if people could convince me otherwise and show me evidence and data that could prove me wrong on any issue that I talk about, I'm all in. Let me listen. I'm an open book. And I think that's how you should be if you do want to progress society forward in the right direction. But in the current state, it's like, well, you're not with us. Well, we're gonna make you the enemy.
You're against us.
You're against us, which is so asinine, which is so dumb. And what I mean is they're pushing people more. They're shooting themselves in the foot, and they don't understand the greater consequences, because just associating with somebody, just being friends with somebody, doesn't automatically believe everything that they do. But it's just so easy to like.
Here's the problem. And I this is what drives me crazy, is that the more they do this, the more I have to actually defend people on the right. Because the people on the right will flat out say to me, Tim, you're a stupid liberal, but I appreciate you trying to be fair. The people who, these attacks, they tend to be coming from the left. Would you agree?
I've been attacked on the left and right, but predominantly now, yeah.
Yeah, it tends
predominantly
to. Like,
now tends to be left.
I have a ton of conservatives saying, like, Tim, you're a cock and things like that. But usually, like, when I go to events, they're like, hey, man, like, I think you try and do a good job. I appreciate that, because the media is always full of it's like misrepresentations and things. But it's the far left, these regressive, whatever you want to call it, who are telling everyone else they're right wing. And I see articles saying that Cassandra Fairbanks is far right, and I'm like, I think Cassandra Fairbanks is on the right.
She's definitely very opinionated,
for sure.
Yeah.
But she's like center right. I don't think people even know what it means anymore, what it means to be right-wing. It's like, it's your stance on the market, and then you have authoritarian and libertarian, but they're like, she's a far right. It's like, they're not like laissez-faire anarcho-capitalists. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, it's just labels people are throwing just to oversimplify things, and it's asinine and it's retarded. I mean, the main reason...
Hey, you can't say that word.
What?
You said retarded.
Oh, goodness. Damn it, I'm done. My career's over.
You gotta be a little bit more sensitive. God,
I called Tim out on this when he
called me out on this.
Not that word, but when he called the dog. You've got to watch the live stream that I did.
Yeah. So,
but regardless, all right. Regardless of that situation, the main reason me and Tim, got our names is because, unlike the mainstream media who would show up at Occupy Wall Street, they would film for 5 minutes, go back and edit a crappy piece. We would stay there, we would sleep there, we would be there from morning till night, talking to everyone, getting the full story, getting there when the cops invaded and abused people and arrested people for sometimes no reason at all. And we were able to be there on the front lines, risking our butts like we still do today every single time. But now we were facing a bigger consequence of that, and that's violence from people who don't want to be filmed. That's violence from people who are predominantly left, more death threats, more harassment, more insane tactics like urine and crap being thrown on you, literally.
But now we've got, look, in referencing political violence, these shootings, you see people on the left often talk about white terrorism, the guy in Quebec who went and shot these Muslims, the guy who went to the church in South Carolina, which are horrifying. And now we have this guy in, I think it was Alexandria, right? He went and he had a list of politicians he wanted to kill. I've seen people smack Trump supporters over the back of the head, and I'm freaked out by that. I'm like, dude, this is just some random dude who doesn't understand. But now it's escalating to the point. Some guy tried to kill Donald Trump. You remember that? He tried seizing the gun from the cop. Now we've got a guy who actually showed up with a rifle and started shooting politicians. This crazy rhetoric of the other. Oh, you're far right. You're the problem. It's leading to this crazy violence.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse, because that kind of extremism only breeds more extremism. This kind of new internet society where sensationalism gets more clicks, where the craziest action, the craziest civil disobedience, oh, look what I did, overcoming somebody. Morals are coming out of the door, and more extremism and more radical actions are becoming more and more popular, because people just need a new hit of that latest craziness. People just want to be there. They want their side to win so bad that they're willing to let go any form of truth-telling. And this side is guilty not only on the left but also on the right, with people lying, people being sensational, people manipulating, people never calling out their own side. And you see plenty of that on the right, as much as you do on the left. And the tactics are just becoming dirtier and dirtier, because the war of information is becoming dirtier and dirtier, because a lot of people are too egotistical and too prideful to actually admit, hey, I actually messed up. I was actually wrong. I could have learned something here and here. And crap. They're never going to do that.
Never going to grow.
But at the same time, I know as a media personality, if I want clicks, if I want hits, if I want numbers, I'm going to pick a side and stand by it and manipulate the truth to push for it. Because if I did stand on one extreme political spectrum, I will have a gang of people. One, the people on the opposite side will watch my videos because they'll be triggered by it. Two, the side that I support will watch it and share it because they see it as a direct attack on those people. But what they don't understand is that they're pushing people away from each other, dividing and conquering society. So there's no progressive dialogue. There's no building up humanity. There's no moving forward together as a people. And at the same time, the oligarchs, the bureaucrats, the Goldman Sachs figures, the real establishment that's watching over everything, that's financing both sides with George Soros and the Kochs, they're looking down and they're laughing at all of us like we're a bunch of dumbasses, because we are, and we're acting like dumbasses.
The last thing I want to say is the interesting thing about Soros and the Koch brothers. Like, people on the right talk about how the left is funded by George Soros, and people on the left talk about how the right are funded by the Koch brothers.
But no one talks about both of them financing both sides like I do. And because I do, I get a lot of crap. And of course, I'm not perfect. I make my mistakes. I call them out. No one's perfect in this world. There's vulnerabilities within all of us. We all make mistakes, but owning up to those mistakes, I think,
that's how you grow.
Is the real way to grow. Maybe not your numbers and your followers.
That's the messed up part.
But you know what? I don't care. It shouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, when you pass away from this existence, you're gonna have to sleep with yourself. You're gonna have to.
I don't think anybody cares.
You're going to have to deal with the consequences of your actions that you had in this world. And to me, having my principles, having my core beliefs, having my values are a lot more important, because I was able to keep my morals, I was able to keep my ethics, and I know that I did the right thing instead of capitulating to power or money or fame. And that to me is worth so much more than this victorial hierarchy of egotism that has spread all throughout the internet and gets a crap ton of clicks.
So here's the last thing I want to say. So, in response to this article in Portland, where they were accusing me of being an alt-right journalist, I took one of these political compass tests, where you'd ask you questions on, government, religion, authority, things like that, and then it'll show you on the compass where you are, and I ended up being around left libertarian, right? So it's like bottom to the left, and that's very much like we take care of each other, we believe in each other, we trust each other, but no one person, I don't believe in like an authoritarian regime, nothing like Stalin or Hitler. Like, I'm far, far away from that, as is Luke, I would imagine. But this is...
You never know. I could be...
Well, this is what we're going to do.
Stalin 2.0.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here, go over to Luke's channel, which is...
YouTube.com/WeAreChange.
And Luke is going to take the political spectrum test.
I'm nervous.
And we're going to figure out where he actually lies.
I kind of don't want to do this.
But here's the point. I never really talked about this because I don't care what my opinions are. I don't care what Luke's opinions are. I care if journalists are representing their subjects and the stories fairly. I don't go out and just ambush people. I mean, Luke, you actually do ambush people in power.
Well, Goldman Sachs, I believe they
right.
do believe.
But
I confronted the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
Oh, okay.
He deserves a little bit of scrutiny.
Different. I mean, the stories I do, I try to meet activists on the left, activists on the right, and then actually just hear them out, hear what they have to say. And there have been points where I've been sitting down with people on the right where I'm just like, I'm like, oh my God, like, no, like, but I'm not going to just, the point is so that you can hear, the point is you can better understand these people and hear their perspective, whether it's right or wrong. And I do that for the right and the left. I've sat down with people on the left where I'm just scratching my head, people on the right, same thing. But the goal is are you representing this person fairly? So, if you like the video, click the like button, comment below, let me know what you think. We're going to shoot another video now with Luke where he takes the test and we figure out where he is on the spectrum and what it even means. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Now pop over to Luke's channel, youtube.com/WeAreChange, and I'll see you there.